Hot laps, crashes galore and impressive long runs. It's all been happening on the final night of winter testing over in Qatar. Tight at the top it certainly is. Maverick Vinales currently leads the way on the final night with 4 Yamahas inside the top 6. The team's getting ready for the 22-lap season opener on March the 10th. A few riders have been out there tonight doing those all-important race simulations, fine-tuning their packages ahead of that opening Grand Prix. And it is decision time. The pre-season almost over. Just 30 minutes of track time left for the riders to make those critical decisions about their bikes and their setups before we go racing in just 13 days' time on March the 10th. A very warm welcome to you. We're here in Barcelona yet again for another special edition of After the Flag. I'm Matt Burt. I'm delighted to say once again I'm joined by a Grand Prix legend, Randy Mamola, and boy have we got a tough job on our hands tonight trying to digest and process what's happened over in Qatar this evening. I think it was the Four Seasons who once famously sang, "Oh what a night." Well, oh what a night it has been over at the Losail International Circuit so far. As we said, Maverick Vinales currently leads the way with a 1:54.208. Second place currently on the timesheets is Fabio Quartararo. Top 3 last night. There's nothing wrong with that young man's pace when he goes into time attack mode on soft tyres. And Valentino Rossi, well, it was a disappointing second night for Rossi last night. Way down the timesheets. Not particularly happy as well with that factory Yamaha. Well, Rossi fans, you can take some comfort from the fact that right now, your man, Valentino Rossi, in 4th place. Randy, I don't even know where to start. There's been so much going on since the track opened later on this evening, but we are set for an incredible year when you look at what's happened on track tonight.
Definitely. I mean, it started out with the Suzukis once again leading off in the first couple of hours, and it surprised me that Mir had shot up to the top before Daniele Paciucci finally took it away. By the time I got here to Dorna to come to the studio, Vinales had taken it away, and Quartararo was in second. And, you know, Valentino, I said last night, Valentino, don't worry, he'll be in the top 5. You know, they've done their homework. They've done, you know, all the things that they can do. There's still a lot of work that has to be done, I think, going into next week's Friday practice. As you well know, it's going to be tough.
Yeah, to be fair to you, Randy, you did see actually Valentino Rossi would be in the top 5 tonight. There he is in 4th place, so good to see your crystal ball is still in full working order.
Rub it. This is a crystal ball.
Yeah, the good news for you guys is we've actually dimmed the lights tonight, so you can take your sunglasses off at home now. Bit of glare coming off myself and Randy's head. We can, thankfully now, go over live to the Losail International Circuit and catch up for the first time this evening. A man who I'm sure has been just as impressed with what's been going out on circuit tonight as we have been here in Barcelona. Our very own Simon Crafar. Good evening to you, Simon. The track's still open for about another half an hour. I'm sure there's a few riders out there still trying to put in that attention-grabbing headline, give themselves a late psychological boost. But I want to talk about Yamaha. What a night they've had so far. Vinales quickest, the sensational rookie Fabio Quartararo in 2nd place, Valentino Rossi coming to the party as he always does in 4th, and Franco Morbidelli there in 6th place. 4 Yamahas in the top 6. We didn't see that coming last night, did we?
No. When I arrived here at the track today, it was howling wind, like roaring. I wouldn't have wanted to get out there, honestly, because you know, when you try and ride in those conditions, even without, I don't think the sand has been too much of a problem, but even without that, it feels like to the riders that you're getting shoved in the shoulder, you know, as you try to tip into a turn. And can you imagine trying to be accurate? And most of them were saying they couldn't hold a line because they're pushing wide, and also try to feel the limit when it feels like someone's trying to give you a shove. Like really, that's why we've seen so many crashes. I asked if it was track temperature because it's quite a bit cooler with that wind, and talking to the Michelin guys, talking to a few like Mayo Marigali just before I came on here, and he said no, it's wind that the riders are complaining about. Both Valentino and Maverick said as they accelerate with a bit of a side wind, the front moves across the track, and then when it touches down, the bike's a bit crossed up and it tries to fire them off, you know, big head shake. And I think between getting the shoves in the side by the wind and that head shaking, that's what's causing the crashes. The Yamahas, you know, like you said, there's 3 up there, and I think it's the top 4 last I looked. Well, again shows how it's a nice bike to ride, you know. It's a bit more forgiving. But looking at the time screen, I'm going to say this a few times tonight, it is not what I think would happen if that wind wasn't there. Because I think there's a few riders out there being sensible, namely the Ducati guys. They did their race run, but they haven't done a time attack, you know. They've gone out and done a long run together, like they did in Sepang. One led for 10 laps, the other, that was the plan anyway. I saw them doing a lot of laps together, but their plan was to have 10 laps in front each, like they did in Sepang. You know, because of that, you know, the track, I spoke to Maverick Vinales as he finished the day just now and walked to his little office or porter cabin, and I said, Maverick, what's the track like out there? And he goes, a lot slower than yesterday. Guys, can you imagine how fast they would have gone here? Would have been a repeat of Sepang, I think. How fast they would have gone here without the winds tonight.
Yeah, well, listen, Simon, I'll just reiterate on some of this stuff. With the amount of crashes that we've heard about, we haven't seen them on screen yet, but that we've heard about, that mixed in with the tension of it being the last night, the last chance of getting really good setups before we run into the qualifying or the FP1 come Friday, a week from this next Friday. Listen, with that sort of tension, looking where Zarco's at, he's down in 21st place, a lot of pressure there. A lot of pressure amongst the manufacturers, except for Yamaha is in that sweet spot at the moment. But as you said, maybe the other riders haven't used it as a time attack. The first person I looked for was Dovizioso, because we know where his sweet spot is, as well as Petrucci, because I know that Petrucci went up to the top and then came back down. The same with Suzuki's. I was super surprised to see Mir so quickly to be up in the top position at one stage before they got knocked down. And again, didn't seem like they wanted to go out. I think everything's on the table for them. They know exactly where they need to be come 2 weeks' time.
Well, Suzuki are one of the manufacturers alongside, I think, Ducati that are totally, their testing's wrapped up. They're ready, you know, and they've been mucking around with a few things on the last day and probably planning a long run. But other than that, they were ready. Where a lot of the other teams have work to do still, and I think it's been hindered today, you know, for Honda, for, let me see, KTM for sure. Maybe not Aprilia, they're pretty organised. But, you know, like Carl Crutchlow said last night in his debrief that he doesn't have a good front feel with that new Honda. And I was, like I said on the show last night, I suspected they had a problem with the engine. But after his debrief, it sounds like it's front end. I knew there was a problem, wasn't sure what. And he said that when asked where it was, he said it's entry, mid, and exit. It's like it doesn't feel like last year's bike, you know. And you know, having said that, I mean, it's been a nightmare for him because he's wanted to fix his bike, you know, the setup, and it's bad conditions for testing, really, you know. And then Nakagami, as you're seeing on your screen, he took a while to come back, so I was worried that he was hurt. I'm glad to see he wasn't. He was straight back out there. He's out there again now. And while we're talking about the the Honda camp, Jorge he's the one I would read something into his move up the screen, you know, the timing screen, because he's clearly feeling more comfortable. This is his first real step up, you know, this test. But on the other side of the garage, Mark has fired it down the road once yesterday, once on the first day, twice, I think, tonight. And one of them, the bike looked a right mess. It looked like it had like a funnel, off a ship heading straight up. The exhaust came up through the seat and pointing up in the air. The thing I'd read into Mark doing that is he's feeling good. He's pushing the limit. That's Mark, you know. He's trying to he's testing. Yeah, so apart from all of that, I would say, again, don't read too much into the timing screen. The Ducatis are further up than it looks like they are, the factory boys, and so are the Suzuki, you know, of Rins. Yeah, that's where I would say, what I would say at the moment.
Simon, before we come to another couple of questions, we saw some footage earlier on of all that wind that was kicking up in the desert earlier on today, and that's resulted in quite a few crashes tonight. There's a picture of Marc Marquez on the deck. But that was at turn 6, inadvertently trying out that new penalty loop when he went down earlier on. A lot of carbon carnage going on in Qatar in those tricky conditions. Like, before we come back to you, Sam, just quickly, Zarco turn 2, Crutchlow turn 16, Rins turn 2, Nakagami turn 9, Marquez turn 6. This is the remnants of Marquez's earlier crash at that 6th corner. Oliveira turn 15, Rabat turn 14. The list goes on. Jorge Lorenzo turn 2 and Pecco Bagnaia on the floor at turn 2 as well. I'm happy to report that all of the riders are perfectly okay, but quite clearly we can see from this footage grabbed by our guys over in Qatar, there's been quite a lot of broken bodywork and broken bikes over in the desert. Simon, quickly coming back to HRC and Jorge Lorenzo. We can see Marc Marquez at the moment in 3rd place, Lorenzo in 5th. Massive improvement in terms of his lap time and position compared to yesterday. Struggles have continued for Cal Crutchlow. It certainly looks like Lorenzo and Marquez, when they put in that soft tyre, they can go quick for 1 lap, but their physical condition, how do you think they're going to shape up over 22 laps? That's going to be a completely different ball game, isn't it?
Yeah, I like watching Jorge, you know, all last year. Because Jorge's such an honest guy, he can't hide, you know, he doesn't hide much of what he's feeling, you know, and he doesn't look happy coming into the box regularly, you know, like, because he's not leading, you know, he wants to be world champion again and win, and which is totally fair enough, but, you know, he's got to be happy moving up the screen. Having said that, I think there's probably at least 4 guys that I would say would be in front of him right now if the conditions were where, you know, everyone would have a time attack like they did last night, you know, and like they did in Sepang. So to repeat, Jorge is moving up, you know, he's getting more comfy on the bike. But I think there's a few guys that would be in front of him, you know, if the conditions were ideal. Honda, I know we're going to see Marc up there, you know, Marquez, he's incredible. So when the lights turn green, he's one of those guys like we've seen in the past, Kevin Schwantz, that can ride around hassles and push it to the limit, and we'll see him there on Sunday. But I hope Carl and Jorge, that Honda can get the bike, you know, spot on soon, so they can be up there as well.
Yeah, Simon, you know, knowing what happened with Cal on the first night, doing a lot of test work for HRC, and then, of course, having that engine failure, Marc having an engine failure as well. We know that he tried Nakagami's bike yesterday, and he said that he had no setup whatsoever to go towards the race, and tonight was supposed to be that night, and unfortunately, Cal went down, which isn't a good sign for them trying to go into next week's race. You know, looking at that whole situation, how do you feel with the likes of what's going on of long runs? Did you get a chance to see anybody doing the long run and or lap times? As you know, we don't get the lap time sheet until after the whole session's finished, and we still got 18 minutes or 15 minutes to go.
Yeah, Randy, same as me. I don't get to see all the, you know what I mean, what the riders have done in their long runs. So I'm only going on what my gut feeling is, watching everybody, what they're doing, and that's why I've summarised Ducati. They're there. You know, we've got to go on previous tests, but also end of last year. Ducati are there, you know. They're just, I think, here we see them on screen doing their long run that I spoke about earlier. Dovizioso is... he's old enough, wise enough, experienced enough, and I would say self-confident enough to not have to go out, do that time attack, risk his body at the last test when there's no prize here. He's gone out and focused on long distance. That's what I think. Where it's actually quite hard to do that confidence-wise, as you'll know, Randy, is not go out and post one, unless he does it soon and proves me wrong. It's hard to do that, walk away from a test so far down, but like I said, he's confident enough to know that they're there. There's no point risking your hand or some injury going into the beginning of the season.
Yeah, thanks for that, Simon. Actually, just before we quickly came on air, we did get some information about some of the longer runs that did take place tonight. Danilo Petrucci, 21 laps, just one shy of full race distance. Aleix Espargaro did a full distance of 22 laps. Dovizioso, 16 laps. Mia, 17 laps. And Fabio Quartararo and Jack Miller both did 14 laps, so about 2/3 race distance. Of course, we'll keep you fully updated with who exactly did those full race simulations a little bit later on in the show. But for the time being, Simon, we'll let you check out, and we'll check back in with you a little bit later on for another catch-up when the checkered flag has been thrown and the dust, quite literally, has settled on a very blustery final night over there in Qatar. For the time being, though, Simon, thanks very much for your time.
Bye for now.
So, always great to hear the observations from Simon Crayford. Now, if you joined us yesterday for After the Flag, you'd have known that we waited very, very patiently to speak to Valentino Rossi. Unfortunately, time just got the better of us. We weren't able to hear Valentino.